the last 5 years or so, I've seen a lot of chat online talking about whether there are too many indie dyers around now or not. Like, has the space become oversaturated? Is there room for more indie dyers? And what does it mean for those of us who have been in the industry for a really long time? I've been dyeing yarn for almost 10 years now. Oh my God, how old am I? I'm so old. I've seen so much change in this industry in that time, and especially since 2020 actually. So I would like to talk about it today. Is the indie dyer sphere oversaturated? Are there too many of them around? Is it even worth joining if you're a new dyer? And like, I don't want to come at this from a point of gatekeeping or anything. I just want to talk about it from a point of experience, let's say. Because I don't think it's as simple as a yes or no answer. There's a lot more about it. So let's get into it. Hey there, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Cozy Corner of Craft. I hope that you're well. If you are new here, hello. My name is Hannah, like I've already said. I am a full-time yarn dyer. My business is Chromatic Yarns, and I also make beaded stitch markers. I started dyeing yarn back in mid-2017, and I've been full-time with my business since mid-2018. June, I think, or July. I left my part-time job that I had. I make all sorts of videos talking about yarn, the fibre space, things I'm knitting, and all of that fun stuff. So if you like what I post and you like what you see, it would be lovely if you were to subscribe. I post every single week. Quick sidebar for those of you who aren't new, really sorry that I've missed the last 2 weeks of uploads. I haven't been well. 1 week I lost my voice. The other week, I won't go into it. I had a bit of a dicky tummy. I wasn't well. It wasn't a good week, but I'm doing much better now. Good to be back on your screens. Back when I started dyeing yarn, the indie dyer world felt so much smaller and more intimate and slower moving. There are a few big names, but they were mainly based, I think, in the US. We had some big names over here as well, but the ones that everyone had heard of were more based in the US. From what I remember, and obviously this could have been tainted memory, but most of the yarn that was sold was ready to ship. Instagram was very heavily used in the online knitting sphere, and our feeds were chronological. Hashtags were actually useful. Posts that you made would actually get seen. Not to mention that Etsy wasn't just filled with AI slop and drop shipping. So it made it much easier starting out a business. It felt like if you showed up consistently, made beautiful stuff, posted, you would actually sell something. It's not quite the case now. Yarn dyeing, I feel like yarn dyeing is so accessible as a craft, and it's really fun. It is really fun that there are more and more businesses cropping up every time because people try yarn dyeing. They think, oh, this is so much fun. I would love to be part of this. And so businesses are born. Social media platforms that used to work in our favour are now so focused on algorithms and having people stay on the app and trying to make you addicted to the feed that they're actually just not working for anyone anymore, are they? Unless you're willing to pay big money. There's just so much more noise on social media now because everyone's desperately wanting their stuff to get seen. So they're posting more and more and more. No one is seeing us. It's just so much harder to get noticed now. It's so much harder to have people actually see your stuff. So is there actually an oversaturation problem with yarn dyers? I guess, but that all entirely depends on what too many feels like to you or means to you. I don't think it's as simple as just like a numbers issue. I think there are several more things at play. As I've mentioned a few times, it's so much harder to get seen now. So much harder to get seen. I don't think it's necessarily that it's because what we're posting is inherently bad or that we've changed what we're posting. I think a lot of people are still posting how they always did, but because algorithms have changed and our feed isn't chronological anymore and hashtags are basically useless, no one's seeing the posts because I don't have a degree in marketing. I don't know about SEO, search engine optimization. I've always found that very confusing. Always. Not to mention the push of like short form video content. It's made social media such a headache. You used to be able to just post a picture of yarn that you dyed and that would be enough. But now social media wants you to post things that make people think, that make people comment, that make people engaged. Because if they don't pause on your post, if they don't comment on your post, if they don't like your post, it's not going to get shown to anyone else because the feed isn't chronological anymore. A simple picture of yarn isn't going to get the engagement that Instagram, TikTok, whatever needs. Another issue is that there are only so many knitters and crocheters in the yarny world, and indie dyed yarn is very much a luxury product, especially with the price tag that it carries. If you've been knitting, crocheting for a long time, or at least in the indie dye world for a long time, you've probably got quite a stash. I have quite a stash. It's upstairs at the moment. I have quite the yarn stash. I just can't knit or crochet quickly enough, and I'm sure many of you are exactly the same. So there's only so much yarn that you want to buy or can feasibly buy before it just, gets a little ridiculous. And with the price of everyday items increasing at an alarming rate, people just don't have the disposable income that they used to. And you know what? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. If you're going to choose to put petrol in your car or buy a few skeins of yarn, what are you going to do? Put petrol in your car. There's just not the disposable income anymore. So sometimes I think that when some yarn dyers mention that there are too many other indie dyers, that maybe they're just feeling the pinch because their business has slowed down and they're feeling pressure from that, be it from social media being not useful or people having financial struggles. There's obviously an emotional side to all of this that I feel like other yarn businesses don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about. I'm always trying to preach community over competition, but I'm also human. I do also have feelings. I find it really hard seeing other this is going to sound really whiny. Stick with me. I personally find it really difficult to see other businesses do really, really well in a really short period of time. I find that really, really hard. Especially because I know that I've been working really, really hard on my business for a really, really long time. And I'm not saying that my business isn't doing well, because it is. Obviously, I'm able to do this full time at the moment, which is incredible. It's just hard knowing that I've put so much time and effort and so many hours into my business, including social media. YouTube is also a part of my business as well. I do this to promote my business as well as because I enjoy making video content. But I feel the same about YouTube channels as well, if I'm being completely honest. If a YouTube channel pops up and all of a sudden has 100,000 subscribers and whatever, I'm just like, oh, I've been doing this for 13 years on this channel, and I had a channel previously that I started back on the 1st of January 2008. I've been doing YouTube for so many years, and it's really, really hard when I see someone start their channel significantly after me and then do so much better than me. I find it really difficult. I get a twinge of jealousy. I do. I then check in with myself and remind myself I'm a 35-year-old woman and I need to get a grip. But the twinge of jealousy is there. And there's something very disheartening about when you post on social media. YouTube, I think, less so. I don't know if the YouTube algorithm is just, I don't know. YouTube, I think, is different. But TikTok, Instagram, and the like, it's really, really hard now. I used to just be able to take a picture, post it. Oh, this is what I'm knitting. Boop, post it. It would get engagement, it would get views, I would get new followers from these posts. Now I have significantly more followers than I did back then, and I think I get this about the same amount of likes as I did when I had half the amount of followers. And that's really hard because now I feel like before I post anything, I'm having to jump through hoops and do mental gymnastics. Have I written the right thing? Is this going to get any engagement from people? Are people going to be interested in this? I just used to be able to boop, post, oh, so much fun. Now it's less fun because it requires so much more thought and planning that I don't necessarily want to have to do. Sometimes I worry that I've sort of missed my moment. Sometimes I think that, sometimes I'm worried I've missed my moment. My business is done. That leave the space for the newer indie dyers. And I'll be honest, I do need to actually think of a backup plan, because I do not have a backup plan yet. If Chromatic Yarns, for whatever reason, I have to close it, I don't yet have a backup plan. And I definitely feel like I kind of need one. So I need to actually sit and think of a backup plan at some point. And I've been dyeing yarn for so many years now. And it's just, there's a little voice in the back of my head that is like, is there still room for me here? And I do feel like a lot of other dyers feel the same way. They just don't necessarily talk about it. And I don't know if this is just because, if this is just like a self-confidence issue or what. Taking time off for maternity leave definitely messed up with my confidence. While I had the momentum and I was go, 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 it was fine. But ever since taking 6 weeks of maternity leave off and taking a bit of a longer break than that yarn dyeing, yeah, a lot of doubt, a lot of self-doubt. And I guess new dyers must be feeling similarly as well. Like, is there even room for me here? Is there even much point in me starting a business when there are so many other yarn dyers out there? And like, there's that uncertainty there on both ends of the yarn dyer spectrum, us oldies and the newbies. And I don't necessarily think that that's because of numbers. I just think, yeah, the environment itself has just changed. Instead of asking, are there too many yarn dyers, I think maybe a better question is the indie dyer industry sustainable as it is now? I made a video touching on pricing of yarn, but margins are tighter at the moment, much like everything. The cost of yarn has gone up, the cost of citric acid has gone up, the cost of dyes has gone up, tariffs are being charged. We're not in the EU anymore, which I know that's like, we're 6 years on from when that all happened, but still I lost a lot of European customers because of Brexit, so thanks for voting for that if you did. I was living in Germany at the time. I did not vote for that. I voted to remain. Not to mention shipping's gone up in price as well, and it does all the time. But I feel like I'm currently charging at the top end of what I can, especially because I'm not yet registered for VAT. I will have to up my price if I do have to register for VAT. We will see. I had my last price increase of yarn back in 2022, I think I worked it out, and costs have definitely increased since then. Electric, water, all sorts. I do see a lot of new dyers pricing their yarn in a way that I did back when I was starting to dye yarn, and yeah, it just makes it's hard. I've done a whole video talking about this. I'm not going to go into it right now. Stop underpricing your work. That's all I'm going to say. And there's also like the creative pressure. People get bored of the same old colorways, the same old yarn, the same old dyeing techniques. And so we as business owners put so much pressure on ourselves to try and come up with something different, something new, something that stands out. A different collection idea, different dyeing style, or oh, I've not seen a tonal in this colour before, when, you know, I'm sure it exists. Trying to keep up with trends, which is something I've never been good at. I've never been a trendy person, but trying to keep up with trends very much can lead to creative burnout. Sort of at the beginning of this year, I needed to come up with an idea for a collection, and that's a horrible place to be in. And I had no idea at all what to do. I had no inspiration until someone commented and said, hey, it's the 10th anniversary of Stardew Valley this year, why don't you bring back that collection? And I did, added in a few more colours, took a couple out. It did wonderfully for me, and being able to go back to a previous collection was actually very, very helpful and got me out of that little bit of mental fog that I had. And like advent ideas I struggled with as well. Back when I was dyeing D&D themed yarn, sometimes it felt like it was a little bit easier because I already had the base theme. I could just sort of branch out from that. But now I don't just dye D&D yarn, I try and pick in different things, and that kind of, that's, oh, you can dye anything. Oh, that's quite a lot. Like, how sustainable is the indie dye world for our customers? I've said this before, there's only so much yarn people can buy. I can't expect you to buy from me every single collection. If people are coming out with 3, 4, 5 collections a year, I will not be doing that. I do not have the mental capacity for that, or the time. But I can't expect even my regular, most committed customers. I don't know. How much yarn can people realistically buy before we start getting into overconsumerism, which is a video I'm actually working on at the moment. Stashes and overconsumerism in the yarn world. And then there's sort of the bigger issue. The industry as a whole, we're all relying on the same social media platforms. We're all relying on, if not the same customer base, then very similar customer bases. We often market in a very similar way and around the same time. Collections are usually launched at about the same time. Advents are usually launched at about the same time. Like, how many posts about Advents have you seen in the last month? And let's, you know, a lot of people have already launched their yarn advent calendars, which is great and wonderful. It felt like on social media, I don't know if this is actually the case of Indie Dyers, it felt like one person shared their advent theme and all of a sudden all the other dyers thought, oh, I better share mine as well. Because otherwise people will buy from this person, they won't know what my theme is, and if they buy from this person they won't buy from me as well, and then it just kind of spirals and people panic. And I'm not talking about whether it's like too early to launch them or not, because that's none of my business. I sell mine in May, which arguably is also quite early. I'll have a video talking about my advent calendar very, very soon. But it's just, all of a sudden my social media feeds were filled with concepts and themes and colour stories and ideas of different businesses' advents, and it was quite a lot. And it's quite easy as a business to kind of get lost amongst all of the posts that some of them look quite similar to one another, because it is, these are the inspiration pictures, here are the colourways, these are the Hey, I have some doing the exact same thing. I am guilty of this. I'm not pointing fingers. Hey, you'll be seeing my posts in a few weeks, so I have no room to point fingers here. But it makes it very difficult as a business to stand out when everyone is posting similar things. And honestly, it probably isn't that enjoyable for a consumer for social media to just be used as marketing. And maybe it's because I follow a lot of indie dyers. But basically Instagram is just, my Instagram feed is just marketing. I posted a picture today of the pickle wearing a new jumper that I made, and it felt nice. It felt nice. It felt nice to share something knitting related instead of, hey, buy my stuff, thanks. I don't want this whole video to be negative, and it feels like it has been very negative up to this point, but there's wonderful, wonderful things that come out of a lot of people being in an industry. Seeing new dyers pop up all the time and seeing people's different dye styles definitely inspires me and encourages me to try different techniques, and encourages me basically to up my game, because I can become quite complacent in what I'm doing, and it's good to not become too complacent. There's so much more variety in colours and styles when there are more dyes. I feel like indie dyers have like their colours that they dye really, really well. Like Skein in the Stitch does really good greens. I'm not as good at greens. I do very good blues and purples, you know? And there are so many more voices and perspective on things. People have dye styles that they're better at. Some are better at tonals. I'm not very good at tonals. I'm not very good at tonals at all. Some are good at chaos, me. I'm good at chaotic speckles. That one I can say. And there's just overall more creativity, which I love. I do think the indie dye world is much more complex to navigate now. There are more indie dyes. I don't necessarily think it's for the worst. Worst? I don't think it's worse that there are more indie dyers, even if it is harder to navigate now. So if you were thinking about starting your own yarn dyeing business and you were tentative and hesitant to because you think there's no room for me, come on in. Come on in, the water's fine. We're a very welcoming community. Some of us are very welcoming in this community. There are some bad apples, but for the most part, we're a lovely bunch of coconuts. It's so much fun to play with colour and create beautiful yarn. And if you love dyeing yarn, there's only so much yarn you can dye and knit with. So you may as well try to make some money from it. I'm just going to share a few things that I wish I'd known when I was starting my business all those many years ago. All those many, many years ago. Well, it was the Corner of Craft back then. I started it back in 2013. I wasn't dyeing yarn at that point though. But this business is old. Old. Know your numbers. Number one, keep track of how much you're spending. That's also important, as well as how much you're earning. Keep track of what's going out, otherwise you'll end up in the hole and nobody wants that. You might not make much profit at first, but don't let yourself get into too much debt. Don't just price your yarn for sales, but also try to, price it for sustainability and growth. Cheap yarn will sell, but you need to also think about if you'll be able to run your business long term selling at these prices. Once again, I have a whole video talking about this, so check that out if you want to. I think building a community is more important than just building a customer base. I love the community that I have around my business. We've got Patreon, we've got YouTube comments, we've got the Instagram supporters, we've got people that come and see me when I do markets. It's so lovely having regular people that pop up in your comments and show up online. It's just, I love it. Don't try to rely on going viral. I could make a whole video talking about this, and I'm actually very tempted to. A lot of businesses that blew up in 2020 over on TikTok are now shutting up shop because they expanded thinking that their sales would forever be that inflated, and then they dropped off because the algorithm didn't favour them anymore. It sucks. It really sucks, and it's really sad to see. But don't focus on going viral to make sales, because quick growth doesn't always mean stable growth, and it's really, really boring and really, really hard and disheartening to grow your business slowly and sustainably and blah, blah, blah. But it does often mean that your business will be a bit more resilient and will hopefully stick around that bit longer. So, are there too many indie dyers? Maybe, but I don't feel like there are. There are a lot of indie dyers. Is it a big problem? I don't think so. And yeah, I think there are bigger issues in the indie dyer world, and just those of us who have been at it a really long time, we just need to adjust how we do business, and it's really, really hard, and it really, really sucks, especially if like you've been shadow banned on social media, or I don't know, you're working really, really hard and you still can't get the sales. It's really disheartening, and I have no advice for that because I am not a marketing expert. But anyway, I would love to hear your comments down below on this video. Let me know, do you think there are too many indie dyers? And are there any new indie dyers that you've recently discovered or who have popped up? Give them a shout out in the comments below. If you like this video and you'd like to see more from me, it would be lovely if you were to subscribe, and I will get back to posting weekly. I promise. So if you like my face and you'd like to see it more, I've still been posting over on Patreon. So it'd be lovely if you were to join the Biscuit Brew Crew Chai Latte crew if you like a bonus video every single week. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, thank you for being incredible, and thank you for being you. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.